Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Restructuring. I think this is one of those perennials, hey, Caryn? It's the one that no one ever thinks they need until they need it, and then suddenly it's a big problem.
And the number of times that we called in to consult, I think it's almost weekly. So people start to play in that ground, and that they start going down the path, and then they realize halfway, but by the time they get to the first corner, they go, whoops, maybe we need some help here. Maybe this isn't quite what we thought it was, or maybe, okay, we kind of understand it, but it's a little bit more complicated than we thought.
Yes.
And that's where we sort of put up our hands and say, okay, can we have a chat now?
I think there's a lot of really nice options in this as well. So I also think sometimes people run away from it when they don't need to, just because it's unknown, if that helps.
The one thing that I've learned, and I was looking at when we were doing the slides, we've been doing this for like 7 years. It's like time goes so quickly when you're having fun. But people, it's the one section that I've sat and listened to you gone, tax people generally get a bit scared of. People get, it's always doom and gloom and he's taking our money from us. But this is one section where he's actually giving you gifts. And it's sort of like a hidden little gem that people don't get. So that's also why I'm putting you up first.
For once.
I sent Carmen an email to say, by the way, in this month's Tech Talk, you starting. But yeah, so, and just for everybody to know, the slides are coming. We've had a little bit of a technical issue with laptops that have been serviced and miscommunications between people. We're currently sorting it out. And as soon as I can get it up and ready for you, it will be available. So we are literally moments away from getting the slides up and running.
In the meantime,
if you just bear with us.
Yeah. So I think this is one of those sessions where I think also, interestingly enough, well, not interestingly enough, but appropriately enough is maybe a better word. Caryn, I was actually sitting in an Examco meeting yesterday talking about integrated questions with accounting and tax for students who are doing their articles and for the qualifying exams. And the one thing that's come across really strongly...
The slides are up. Sorry, can you see the slides on your side?
Yeah, so I've put up my slides. Okay. So I'm presenting.
Okay, I have converted the.
There they are.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so they are uploaded. They're uploaded to wherever they need to be for the members. It's all done on our side. Okay.
Yeah. So where I was getting to with this is the one thing that I realized is we tend to have comfort zones. So we tend to become comfortable with thinking of things with an accounting hat or thinking of things in a tax context. And as a result, when we're unsure of something, we then tend to default to, well, tax would treat it like X, so therefore I need to do that way, even though it may be a fundamentally different philosophy in accounting, for example, and or vice versa. And that's one of the big reasons we started these 360s, is because we realized just how easy it also is to get into that default setting of, oh, well, this is the way it logically must work, therefore, or I understand it to work this way in one context, therefore it must work in the other. And I think corporate rules is one of those where, because the tax is often such a big part of the planning, people also then almost, usually it's the accounting pulls the tax behind it. This is one of those where I think the tax sometimes, because we get so hung up on it, almost people presume that then follows through to the accounting, when that's absolutely not the case. Because this is one of these where yours is actually, well, you do you, Carmen, and I'll just come back and do it the same way, whatever it is you've done.
I always think of myself, whenever you start talking about this with a client, to go, okay, well, I'm the broom and the sweep. I come up at the back and I clean up. But you're exactly right. With accounting and law, it's usually they're the horse to you, the trailer. They're the tractor to the trailer. They're supposed to drive the transaction, and you're supposed to respond. Okay, so you've done this. This is the commercial sense of the transaction, and this is the tax consequence of what you've done. Not that people do it that way. They usually try and put literally the trailer in front of the tractor. But yeah, so this is one time where I do think the the way that you structure it. So the idea is you want to do a corporate restructure, you want to do a business restructure. And you've got a smorgasbord of options and ways to do it that are beneficial. And you've got to choose, are you going for the brie or the camembert or the cheddar as to how you're going to do this? And once you're done, I'll just respond to that. But there is that. But the first decision is we want to achieve this different look afterwards. So you've got to have the commercial sense to begin with. It's not a case of doing this just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. And I think that's possibly, and I realized we didn't actually do our formal intro. We're worrying about the slides. But I think before we do that, the main point of what you'll see today is that the common thread in this is going to be you have toolboxes. There's an entire toolbox available to you to get to your end goal. But if you don't understand what your end goal is, then you're going to have a very difficult time getting through there. And then it's also just making sure that you understand the consequences of each of those different steps in those toolboxes. And then it's assimilating about it. So it's big picture first, look at what the big picture principles are, and then translating that to planning.
It's almost in my mind like saying, okay, well, you want an outdoor living area to your house. Well, you could, build a patio, you could do a fire pit, you could do all these sorts of things. Which one is it that you want? What will achieve your goals? And what is the most efficient way to do it? And the most cost-effective way to do it? And on my side, what is the least administratively burdensome way to do it? Because some of the ways you go about this are a little bit more straightforward than others.
Yeah. Maybe they're also then cost benefit to me, because sometimes the more burdensome way up front gives you a better answer down the line. So that's also, Anyway, but by the way, so formal introduction for those of you who haven't been with us before.
Especially a tech talk.
Yes. First thing is, please, we really encourage this. We want this to be an interactive session. We really, these are not meant to be dull, dry. Although Caryn and I can talk to each other like, really, that's not a problem. And we can keep the conversation going ourselves, but we really want you to come and give us your scenarios or your questions or your issues that you have. And it is meant to be an interactive session. And the idea is, as you'll see from both of our bios, which are available in the notes, that Caryn really focuses on the IFRS and the compliance and legal aspects, and I focus more on the tax aspects of issues. But that across the board, what we're trying to achieve with this is almost like a holistic view of how do I address an issue. And that does mean that in 3 hours, we're not going to be able to address every single nuance. It's just not going to happen. But what we're hoping to leave you with at the end of the session is a comprehensive understanding of, well, these are what my options are. These are the big picture principles that we should consider. And here's some of the options that are available to me in order for me to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So,
and just for those of that, I did a company secretarial session yesterday, and I sort of said the same thing that we're going to say today. If you see the slide pack, and I did look at it when I was sending it through yesterday, I was like, oh my word. It is very extensive. There's a lot of detail in the slides, but we tend to do that, both of us as presenters. We won't necessarily talk to every single page, but you've got it there for reference later.
Yeah.
So don't stress and think, oh my hat, how are they going to, they're such chatty Cathy's here, how they're going to get through all of this. It's also, we'll talk about things and just know that you will have the reference in the notes somewhere, even if we haven't gone to the particular slide and said, hey, look here, it is there.
And I think this is also from both of our points of view. The reason we also try and put a bit more detail in the slides is because we also are firm believers in the idea that sometimes half the issue is knowing where to look. Yeah. And at least by providing you with the references and the exact section references or the appropriate IFRS reference or the rest, it gives you a starting point of where to go and find some additional information.
We want you to hear our voices in your head for the reasoning and for the thought process. And then you can color in the detail as you go along.
So the section that actually started us all off on this, Caryn's become almost to start thinking of section 42s as a curse word.
Well, it's like the kickoff to the game.
So at this point, I suppose the question is, why are you here? So in this poll, there's no right or wrong on this. I'm just interested in hearing your views on it.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.